Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who is not a kitten. Okay, I'm going to be reviewing the album Scarlet by Doja Cat, and I'm not like a Doja Cat super fan. As a matter of fact, as often happens on this channel, my ignorance is just profound, okay? I've never heard a single Doja Cat album. As a matter of fact, in my head, and don't get mad at me, this is just what happens. When you're older and you don't pay a ton of attention to pop culture and stuff like that, names get mixed up. So in my head, like, Dua Lipa and Demi Lovato and Doja Cat are all just two named female pop stars that start with D. I know that's ridiculous. I'm probably going to review all three of them this year, and I know how ridiculous that is. But that just shows how little I know. I don't know where she's from. I don't know how long she's been around. And over the last couple of years, I've listened to her from time to time, but primarily through my daughter. So my daughter, who in general likes sort of indie music and, Boy Genius and Billie Eilish in terms of pop, she has been listening to that Planet Her album and just loving it. Like she does sort of like a party trick where she does an entire verse for her friends. And so I knew I wanted to review her, whenever either of my kids or any of the three of my kids, I have a baby, she's really into Wheels on the Bus. I don't like that song, so we probably won't be talking about that. Although Itsy Bitsy Spider's pretty good and actually fits into the context of this album. But anyways, whenever my kids say they really like something, that means a lot, because they're a younger generation, something speaks to them. That's what music is basically supposed to do. So I was excited to review this album. And as I was getting ready to review it, as I was getting ready to listen to it, I started sort of paying a little bit of attention because my daughter said, well, a lot of her fans are mad at her. And if there's ever somebody who's very popular and her fans are mad at her, it's usually a good sign. It's usually a sign that an artist is being an artist and not just being a product. So I did a little bit of reading. I found out that she called her last album mediocre pop, which is like, she's calling her own stuff bad. Like that's a pretty interesting position. She called her last album a cash grab. She talked about her stans, her super fans, and told them to get a life, get off their phone, and get a job. Actually, reminding me of there's a great Saturday Night Live sketch with William Shatner where he tells all Trekkies just to go home, And I love this because the stan culture is so strong, is so powerful. And I imagine there's a lot of kittens watching this video, if anyone's watching this video. It's not good. It's not helpful. It doesn't actually help the artists. Whenever I say things that upset stans, usually their commentary, their criticism of my criticism is always just very weak and just driven by a sort of slavish desire to serve someone who doesn't care about them at all, right? So I really appreciated this, going into this album, having this context. Another quote where she says that she doesn't love her fans because she doesn't know them. How many times have you heard an artist saying that they love their fans? And I don't think they're lying. But I think it shows this kind of lack of boundaries, this lack of understanding of a parasocial relationship, If you're a frequent viewer of mine, you don't love me and I don't love you. You like what I do and I appreciate that you're watching. You know what I mean? But I don't love you, It's to have somebody say that and to have that be a scandal is fascinating to me. It makes her one of these artists who we really need to solo out and look at and really study in her own context, because what she's doing is really bucking against several trends that are commercially advantageous right now. It is commercially advantageous to have an extremely asymmetrical parasocial relationship with your fans. It is really advantageous to have, to talk about your last album and tour your last album. Is really advantageous to have all these things, but she's not doing it. Which immediately is why I'm going to start using the A word, a proof that she is, at worst, making a real effort to, at worst, she is a bad artist. At best, she is a good artist. Now, when I talk about artists with a capital A, I'm talking about artists who follow their own vision regardless of commercial forces and especially regardless of what their fans want, all right? So there's all these scandals that are all around her. There's the tweets that were above, that I just discussed. All those tweets I just talked about. Essentially, she's telling her fans that she is not their savior. Speaking of religion, she is playing around with all this demon imagery with Satanism, and I watched a preacher with like millions of views, a guy named Sam Collier. I don't think he's related to the guy from Full House. he says that he wants her to be saved, but that she's putting a generation into death. So spiritually, she's saying, I'm not your savior. And then apparently, and this is, I couldn't believe this, right? Like I couldn't believe it because it seems so silly, but apparently the fact that she shaved her head is a big scandal. She mentions it 4 or 5 times on the album. So I watched the video of her discussing it. If you don't know, the issue of black women in hair is a very important issue to study. A rare edit from me. So I went to the gym after recording the video. I'm like making pancakes now, so I'm wearing my apron. And I realized that like if you're a new viewer of mine, sorry, my baby just dropped something on the ground. If you're a new viewer of mine, you might not know that like I understand that I am a very white, very male person talking about issues of race and gender that I don't experience. So I know that. I've read a lot of books. I listen to people when they talk. I take them seriously. Everything that I'm saying is based on what I understand from what I have learned from people who have that lived experience. But I am certainly not pretending to be an expert. My baby really agrees that I need to make this little thing. I do not consider myself an expert on that lived experience. So I'm a tourist in this culture, and I am sharing with you my observations. I make no claims to true expertise. All right, let's get back to the video. Did you want to see what she dropped? Very important issue to understand. And a lot of people see the way that black women's hair is treated and discussed, the expectations of a European standard of beauty, which are very difficult to attain and usually require a lot of money and time, is a way that our society is fundamentally misogynoir, which is an expression which means hates women, hates black people, and especially hates black women. The term is coined by Moya Bailey, associate professor at Northwestern. So her shaving her head, even though it's just like she's presenting it like she's a punk, and like, I don't like having hair. And she's not making it explicit. She doesn't say, at least in any of the interviews I've seen, hey, black women have been sold a bill of goods. We're spending hours and thousands to look like something when we can just be beautiful looking the way that we look, right? But somehow this is tied into her Satanism. It's tied into this idea that she is becoming something that her fans should not relate to, that should not be popular in popular culture. Like, everything around her is this amazing reflection. Is this amazing reflection of what's happening. That a person cannot have natural hair and be accepted at the same time. So I guess she's not their savior. She's not coming out, she's not shaving her head and saying, I'm doing this because black is beautiful, because woman is beautiful, because black woman is beautiful. No, she is just doing it for herself. So you noticed the thumbnail, and you've been hearing me hint at it. Ms. Morale. That's the way I think of this album. From the second track, that term got into my head, and it's been stuck in my head. And I think it's merited, okay? Maybe it's self-evident. When I was speaking to my daughter about this album, she's like, oh yeah, I thought that too. So, I don't know. Maybe Goat has just spent too much time with Professor Skye, or just enough. Not enough for me. Maybe this is self-evident. Maybe this is like what the Rolling Stone review is going to say. Maybe this is what Pitchfork is going to say. I don't know. I don't read that stuff, I mean, I will from time to time, but I don't read that in preparation, But I think the Ms. Morale idea is a fascinating one. To see this album as, to a certain extent, a female pop version of what Kendrick Lamar did with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now, obviously, we have multiple voices and multiple flows, which I'll get into as we talk about the album, much like Kendrick, and of course like Nicki as well. Nicki Minaj, she's able to use different voices to communicate different things. Now, I would argue that she's probably the most dynamic and original female voice in hip-hop, since, at least mainstream hip-hop, since I've heard Nicki. Like any rapper who's not from from Buffalo. There's a lot of great female rappers out of Buffalo. Like, she somehow doesn't sound like Nicki to me, even though she does a lot of the same things, which I think is strangely difficult. So she has these multiple voices. Of course, this album apparently was long awaited. It's a little bit over long, But most importantly, it's an album where at its core, a lot of it is questioning what does it mean to be an artist in 2022, 2023, okay? What does it mean to be an artist now? What is... We're redoing my den. Well, my wife is redoing the den. She's doing all the work. I'm taking care of the baby. So I got this plant next to me. You know, what does it mean to be an artist? What is your relationship to your fans? What do you owe your fans? Do you need to be your fans' savior? Do you owe your fans an expected album? Do you owe your fans their expectations? Kendrick made a very long, excellent album telling you, I'm not going to give you Damn, and I'm not going to give you Butterfly. So just deal with it. I'm going to give you this. And in doing so, it is a statement for the artist, and I think this is particularly important for African American artists who are sort of more controlled and more marginalized, I would say, by external forces than just their fans, right? That she's able to do the same thing. You know, like when Kendrick Lamar refused to go out and speak during the Black Lives Matter rallies. You know, I don't know if you remember that, but he was criticized. Like, we need your voice. We need your voice. And he stood up and he said, I'm an individual. I need to be an individual in a world which is constantly forcing people into groups, into groupthink, into taking sides, into being good or bad or whatever it is. He was taking a stand, but it wasn't for the group. It was a stand for the individual, a stand for the artist. Which I think if you're going to get a demon tattoo and shave your head and attack your super fans, I think it's a fight for the same move, for the same individuality in face of conforming presences. And there's one quote on this album which simplifies everything, which solidifies everything. And what I love about this album is it's contradictory in a lot of places. And my favorite place that's contradictory is she spends much of the album complaining about her fans and about her super fans, about people who like her music. Okay, no, not that. People who love her music, right? But then she has this one lyric. I love it when my fans change. That's how we change the game. So there she is. She figured, that's it. She is explaining what a real artist does. And I talk about this all the time on the channel. Artists with a capital A, like Kendrick, like Daft Punk, like the artist formerly known as Kanye West. They change, and they're real fans. The real fans, not the people who are fans of the image, not the people who are fans of the way they felt when they first heard the music, not the people who are into a group identity of loving them, of stans, of kittens, of beehives, of Barbies, any of that. All that stuff is superficial internet stuff. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't help an artist at all. What helps an artist is somebody who loves the artist and what they do and the way that they express themselves. So she's trying to become, Taylor Swift. She's trying to have those deep fans who go with her when she changes, who hear Reputation and go, yeah, it's not my thing, but I love that she's doing it. That's what she's trying to do. It's awesome. And it's really good. It's a really good album. I appreciate that she doesn't work with Dr. Luke on this album, who she's worked with in the past. So to me, right, like I don't know her pop songs, right? Like seriously, I don't. If you played a song, I wouldn't know if it was her or someone else. I don't know any of her hit songs, not a single one. So to me, she is just a rap artist. So I get it. I saw a little thumbnail. I guess Fantano has a video saying that she's a good rapper and has like 200,000 views. I'm not jealous. I am jealous. It has like 200,000 views, and I'm like, well, of course she's a good rapper. That's all she is, because all that I know of her is this album. There are a couple skips on this album. I think that's where it becomes poppy. That's my issue. There's like 3 or 4 tracks sort of all clumped together, which I call one-timers. So I listen to them one time. I have a couple comments on them, but beyond that, I'm never going to listen to them again because the rest of the album is so strong. And it does suffer a little bit from Migos bloat, which is to say too many tracks to get more streaming numbers, to get more money, right? It does suffer from that just a little bit. But hey, there's no featurings, Like, think about that. Just think about that. Think about the insanity of not having a guest rapper, a guest singer, not bringing in sort of built-in fan base, a built-in, it's not like people don't want to work with her. it really shows a insanely strong desire for individuality and to make a piece of art. Before I continue, if you like what I'm saying, please smash the like bucket. Please subscribe if you haven't. You can leave a comment, it would be great. I have a little trick. If you type the letters AVAA, standing for awesome video as always, I will always heart that comment. Even if you hide it somewhere in the comment, I'll find it. It's just a way of giving you permission to just comment. Because like I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I don't comment very much. I really should. But like, I just don't want to be like, I don't want to take your time. YouTubers always want comments, always. So anyways, that would be awesome if you did that. I have a Patreon. I don't do subscriptions. I don't think you should use vitamin powders, by the way. I do anti promotion. So I don't think you should like buy vitamin powders. Just try to like work better on your own nutrition, a little more fruits, a little more vegetables. It seems like it's a bad idea. So that's my anti-promotion for the day. So let's get to the album, okay? Let's get to the stamp, what I think is maybe the best track on the album. I can't tell. There's so many good tracks on the album. Click above France over there to hear the song Demons. Now, she's been releasing songs for the last couple months. Every single time one comes out, my daughter tells me about it, and I say, no, I don't want to listen. I want to listen to the album when it comes out. So this is my first time listening to this song. What I love is that it feeds in right from the previous song. It's got this really blown out sound. I don't know. It feels to me like so much of what we're listening to is in reaction to Whole Lotta Red, the Playboi Carti album. It feels like we're that kind of insane trap madness and horror-themed trap madness is actually bleeding into other forms of music, and this really feels that way with like these two notes and these rising arpeggios. And it starts off with this chorus where she's trolling, right? She goes between trolling, and I relate to this. I used to be really into irony. I was sort of a troll before there were trolls. I was a hipster troll. Where you troll somebody and then you get mad that your troll worked. So part of the album, she's like, how dare you think I'm satanic? And then other parts of the album, she's like, Beelzebub is my lover. She kind of goes in between those two things. But this is just the strength of this chorus. How my demons look. Yeah, now that you B-word shook. It's got this great big trap beat sound. And then this is what I'm talking about with the voices. I mean, I count at least 3 separate voices, and this is why I think it's so cool she doesn't have a guest rapper or a guest singer. Because she doesn't sing on this song, but on other songs she sings perfectly fine. On this one, she starts off with a chorus and she sounds normal, and then she starts like screaming, and then she does her first verse, which is this really baby voice, but it's a baby voice in the same way that Kendrick has his kid-like voice. It's not baby like the weird sort of semi-sexualized baby voice that some women use. It's a lot more menacing. It's a lot more like taunting, the way that Kendrick does it as well. And then we get the chorus where she's sort of rapping in a normal voice. And then we get the second verse where she's rapping in a normal voice, but with really overdetermined pronunciation, where she's making sure that everything hits for emphasis. And, sorry, I'm trying to mess around with my light. The light is just so weird in this room right now with the... What do you think? What is going there? And, I really enjoy, she is playful, which is a thing that I like. She's playful, and it's funny because when you know that your teenagers are listening to music, you get nervous. When I knew that my son was listening to a lot of Playboi Carti, I'm happy because it's good music. So better bad words than bad art. That's what I always say. But at the same time, do you have to talk so much about the syrup and the drugs? And this is like, it's not so much drugs, but its attitude towards sex is very aggressive and probably not the healthiest thing to hear. But, whatever. I was listening to Frank Zappa and Eazy-E when I was in high school, so nothing really matters, But I love that she says that she quit nicotine, And I love that, secretly, very secretly, this album is filled with good messages. Love yourself, don't do drugs, you're better when you're sober, have gratitude for the things in your life. This is actually one of the most uplifting and just life-affirming albums you could possibly have. And all of the, frankly, intentionally fake ass demonic stuff is just smokescreen for the fact that this is a ridiculously wholesome album. I just quit nicotine. Yay. You know how hard it is to quit vaping? I mean, I quit smoking when I was younger. I was lucky. I never had to do any of that weird water stuff. But like, she really deserves, I don't know. I love it. And then she, of course, goes on to wanting someone with a large penis, and that's fine. And then just the way she delivers the end of this line, it's so funny. We are enemies. We are foes. Who are you? And what are those? You are gross. Percocet got you playing with your nose. It's funny. It's silly. I was reading Genius. They're Genius about it, and everyone thinks that she's dissing on Nicki Minaj, and it's great because she's insistent that she's not, and that she doesn't diss Nicki Minaj, and this is a thing that she makes very clear. She's never insulting another rapper. Even when it sounds like she's insulting another rapper, she is not insulting another rapper. And this is another little clue to this sort of artistry that's at the center. That she understands that she is a comrade, okay? She is a comrade with other artists. Whatever it is that she is facing is the exact same thing that Lil' Kim is facing, is the exact same thing that Lauryn Hill is facing, okay? That Nicki Minaj, like whatever these things are that are being suffered, the enemy is not the other person who's in this same cyclone, And then the second verse is just about how awesome she is, but it's also just this amazingly strongly delivered line where it's just everything is overdetermined, and just the way that she sees herself. I'm a puppet, I'm a sheep, I'm a cash cow. Just really understanding there is also, hey, this is YouTube, which means I either have to try to red pill you or get you to become a socialist. There is a certain degree to which this album is very anti-capitalist. She talks about not buying stuff a lot. She does talk a little bit about flossing, but here she's talking about being a cash cow, about how capitalism turns people into mere vessels of making money for other people, which is what she is, right? That's what every pop star is. A pop star is somebody who makes money for other people, right? Just like any other laborer. They just happen to do it in a way that is perceived of as being more prestigious. I'm the fastest growing bitch on your apps now. You're tired of me because I'm on your ass now. You're mad at me because I'm all they slap now. So it's this funny idea like she's on your ass and then I'm all they slap. It is double entendre with this word slap, as in slapping the music and also slapping the ass when she's on it. I can nap now, which is this beautiful image of just like relaxing, that she can relax, that she's so great. Lots of people that were sleeping say I rap now. Hey, I'd like to say I'm not one of those people, okay? I didn't listen to your music at all, so I'm not surprised you can rap. I don't know anything about who you are. Lots of people's hopes and dreams are finally trashed now. Lots of people say they met me in the past now. I done took the spotlight, made them black out. Beautiful image, it's a thing I say to my kids all the time. Someone else's shine doesn't make you dull. That's the way I try to get them not to be haters. If you have kids, it's a useful sentence. But that's what she's saying, is that the spotlight's on her, which made everybody else feel darker. I done took the whole dick and blew my back out. Kind of a non sequitur. I swallowed all of his kids and split the class out. A non sequitur as well. The way that she talks about sex is in this sort of competing with herself. It's a weird sort of way of saying it. It's like she seems to treat most sexual encounters as an ordeal that she has triumphed over, as opposed to something that she really takes pleasure in. I take the trash out, I finna cash out, bitch do not pass out. That's the whole second verse. I'm delivering it very poorly, but she's just really hitting all these lines with that kind of, I think I want to use the term imperial humor. And that's what I think of when I think of Kendrick. Like when Kendrick is delivering his punchlines, he's not a clown. You know what I mean? He's an emperor who's making a joke and you're just like, yes, and that is very funny. I'm saying that not because I'm afraid of reprimands, but just it's very funny. But it's not the same kind of laughter that you get, I don't know, like Missy Elliott, right? She's a very famous, very funny female rapper. Like she's like delivering punchlines and jokes, whereas here it feels like there's a kind of distance. I watched the video to this song. Yo, the video is awesome. She's all like naked in black body paint and she's got like these fangs and it's like a whole bunch of horror movies all in one. It's like a woman scared in her bed. She's crawling on the ceiling. And there's a whole scene where she's in the Shining bathroom. They didn't recreate it perfectly, but they did a good enough job that you understand. Only Shining nerds would think that it's not good enough. I don't think it's good enough, but it's very, very good. And the fascinating thing is that she's in the bathtub and she's the rapper, which all of a sudden, feminist rant here, in general, horror movies give very little agency to female characters, hardly ever. So by putting herself, by being the person in the bathtub who does the scaring, who scares Danny, who scares Jack in The Shining, she is sort of taking that scene over and becoming the center of it. She's not a way to experience the fear or the haunting that is being felt by the male protagonists. Like, she is the protagonist antagonist of this whole story, and she's coming out of the bath, and then all these weird black arms are coming up, and then she's like typing in the attic, and it's like Paranormal Activity and The Shining and Hereditary and Poltergeist, all these things mixed into one, and it's just great. It's an awesome music video. Okay, I'm gonna go through the rest of the album a little bit quicker here. Is the light okay? I always feel super weird, like I look like I'm glowing. How my demons look. Okay. Okay, so the album starts off with Paint the Town Red, which was a scary start for me. Because I knew I wanted to review this album, but I hear this kind of hacky sample of Walk On By. The Burt Bacharach song, I think it's the Warwick version. But it's like, is this just going to be like an album, like, the Drake thing, the I'm Too Sexy thing of taking a really well-known song or whatever, that song off the Barbie soundtrack where they take Barbie, and just like taking the chorus and just like changing it a little bit and then just knowing that that song, and so that's going to be the basis of it. But it's not at all. It's not at all. It's not just a clumsy sample of a well-known song. It's used really well. It's this has got the weird like filter effects on it. It sounds different. It just sounds great. And just starts right off. Yeah, bitch, I said what I said. Really doubling down. This album really isn't in communication with Twitter X. It's very much about Twitter and her relationship to people through Twitter. This great baby voice, this really odd chorus. Just with that. It has like a very uncanny, uncomfortable sound. Jesus, maybe I should have called this... whole lot of Ms. Morale or something, because the more I think about it, the more I realize how very kind of horrific it is in that sort of Playboi Carti way. My happiness is your misery. Fascinating concept here. This is where she says, I'm so much fun without Hennessy. Okay, so in the first two tracks, she talks about how she doesn't need to drink to have fun and how she quit vaping. What more do you want, kid? Hey parents, hey PMRC, okay? Hey Tipper Gore, all right? Tipper Gore, go fuck yourself. This is good messaging, okay? This right here, Tipper Gore might be dead. I'm sorry if she is. She was the person who really led the charge, to put stickers to say that things have bad messages. On the whole, this album has positive messaging. It also has somebody ripping off Pusha T, doing the ugh sound. And she talks about, I don't need a wig to make you like it. I don't need a new fan because my boo like it. She's just talking about how she doesn't need fame. She doesn't need wigs. She doesn't need all of these trappings that so many other people need. And it's cool because she's doing, now I'm thinking about it, she's doing exactly what Kendrick did. Where Kendrick didn't come out saying like, I'm okay, he said he's smoking on top fives, but he wasn't actually targeting other rappers. But at the same time, he just did something that everyone else can't do. And so she's kind of doing that. She's like, oh, yeah, the thing about being a popular female rapper is you have stans and you have a wig. And that's what it is. How to be a popular female rapper. Have stans, wear a wig, the end. Okay? Collect all the money. Okay? I'm oversimplifying. But by emphasizing that she doesn't need to do that, she's sort of flexing on everybody. Next song is called West Virginia. Oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. My eyes. Wet Vagina. Okay. I legitimately thought it was West Virginia. It's like, she taking a stand against the removal of the graduate program in mathematics and the language program. No, so we'll talk about this. Again, I'm talking about the Playboi Carti stuff a lot. Very odd. This beat would be totally at home on Whole Lotta Red. The chorus would be at home on Whole Lotta Red. It's just got this like, here come the Johnny's. And yeah, she talks about like really, really, really rough sex. That's 3 reallys on there. Shutting down the Louis store. But I love it because she shuts down the Louis store and doesn't buy anything. And later she says she doesn't shop. She gets free clothes. Again, she's not actually really super capitalist. She's saying that she can. Like, she's using her ability her purchasing power as a symbol of her success. but not as a symbol of who she is. And that's a problem that a lot of people have when they grow up poor and become rich, is they think, well, now that I'm rich, it means I'm worth something, and so they show off their wealth at all times. And she's not doing that. And then we just get this line over and over again. Which, hey, I'm a progressive father. But, yeah, don't listen to this one in the car with your kids. It's just too uncomfortable, okay? It's just, there's lines, you don't need to hear someone say, I bring the debt with the wet vagina. But what I think is great is that, we're living in the post-WAP world. And often there's this weird thing where the wetness of a vagina is essentially become the surrogate for the size of a dick. Like, it's become sort of like a sort of thing, a way that women can discuss their sexuality that is competitive and in a very masculine way, right? Most often, traditionally masculine ways of exerting dominance are more and bigger, right? And that's not usually the way that female dominance is. Well, female dominance is not usually a topic at all, right? So, due to centuries and centuries and centuries of marginalization. So it's a sort of I find it sad. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but I find it kind of sad that this is the way it's expressed. Essentially saying, like, I have more bodily fluids than you. But I don't think that's what she's doing here. Like, the way that she repeats it over and over and over again. Vagina. Like, there's something about the way that she says it that feels like it's not that. It feels like it's just like a statement of some kind of just sort of like aggressive femininity, but not. It doesn't feel like WAP. It doesn't feel like a lot of the other stuff to me. And then we get to Fuck the Girls, the next track, FTG. Really haunting bass line, like a real drum loop. Like, there's a lot of like not trap drum beats on here. And whenever you are a music reviewer and you hear non-trap beats, you're just like, thank you. I like trap beats, but it's great. And this is just, how do you read this song? I've been listening to this song whole weekend. I started, I listened to this album for the first time like at midnight on Thursday, right? Like I'm down for this album. And I'm like, is this just misogyny? Is it yes and is it no? So in a certain way, she is saying FTG, and this feels to me like a very conscious, again, like Kendrick Lamar saying, I'm not going to speak at the Black Lives Matter, I am not your savior, that she's going to make an anthem in which she is saying that she is putting down all women. But it's interesting because she's doing it, they ain't with me, so fuck the girls. So she's talking about a lack of solidarity with her. So as I read this, her disappointment is that she does not receive solidarity from other women, that she needs that solidarity from other women, and she's not getting it. So in that case, there is no solidarity. So instead of having a fake solidarity, I'm just going to say fuck the girls. There's a crucial line in the chorus, the whole damn world stay sane. So she is putting her anger towards women in the context of global misogyny. So it's great. I mean, it's very challenging. And it's very hard to understand because she is also saying, I don't love you hoes and you worship everything I could be. It's so catchy. And if it is a sort of misogynist song, which I think is how we could best describe it, that's going to get lost. And it's just going to be seen as a misogynist song. But I love how they let the beat ride at the end. It's great. Next song is called Ouchies, which has a weird Luke Skywalker sample. I don't know if this is a shot at Dr. Luke, but Dr. Luke is a producer who did terrible thing to women. Luke Skywalker of 2 Live Crew is a producer and rapper who was attacked by Tipper Gore, was the poster boy for censorship in late 80s rap because of his sexual content. But as far as I know, he's never been accused of actually like abusing anybody. I don't know, which Luke is accepted in society and promoted and which Luke is not. Very chaotic sounds here. Like, I love how it cuts out sometimes and it's just like her voice and high whiny sounds. And she has this line about being a billy goat, no eyelash, just a funny kind of interesting line there. I love the chaotic sound here. And then we get 97, which is sort of a contemplative song with like incidental piano and the drums here. This is like underground rap stuff. This is like alternative rap stuff. They're like rickety drums that aren't working and this super high voice, and she's singing in this super high voice. And then she has like a whole verse about how she likes fur. If it ain't bleeding and screaming, I don't want it. I think this is ironic. Okay, I don't think she actually means this. I don't think she's trying to start a fight with Morrissey. I think it's tied into this chorus. Looks like we don't give a shit. I think she's trying to say things that are shocking. I think she's trying to be shocking. I think the Satanism, I think everything is trying to say, do you accept me as I am, as an artist and as a person? If you can't accept all these crazy things that I'm saying that I don't believe, I will not accept you as my fan. Which is just great. You know, this is my first Doja Cat album, and I am totally on board. Okay, I am so much of a kitten now that I'm not a kitten because she doesn't like kittens. I'm a puppy. Okay, puppies are Doja Cat fans that don't want to be Doja Cat fans because they're too much of a fan of Doja Cat. Okay, tell me in the comments I'm a puppy too. Okay. If you want, you can say that. I'll probably forget that I said this, and then I'll be like, why is everyone calling themselves a puppy? You said these are clothes. What are those? You look like a butter face, butter body, butter toes. I put can't believe it on my early morning butter toast. Very funny. Just all these different ways of insulting somebody. But let me talk about something that is not funny. Margarine is not funny. Okay? Butter. Never eat margarine. Never eat. I cannot believe it's not butter. We live on life. If we're lucky, 100 years, 110 years. Most of us, 80, 70, 60 years. Eat butter, okay? It's very good. Humanity perfected butter. So, anyways, I'm happy that she doesn't vape. I'm happy that she doesn't need alcohol. But let's not give commercials to margarine. It talks a lot more about tweets. I love at the end, she's like, looks like we don't give a then yeah, like a Howard Dean scream at the end. I don't know. It's great. And then we get to the song Gun. If you watch this channel, you know I have a very complicated relationship with basically pornographic rap songs. Like I sort of find them like they're usually skips to me, but not this one. I love these kind of swirling synths, like arpeggios and these da 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 da. And it's this weird voice where it's not even her baby voice. And this is the thing, there's a lot of different variations within her different voices, which has a slight vocal fry, a little bit like I do now. The journey is what you remember. You know, a little slight vocal fry, not full low hand, but like almost there. And then it's just an extended penis gun metaphor. And I've really given the song a lot of thought. And it's good. It's not the kind of song that I want to listen to because I don't enjoy listening to pornographic rap songs. But the number of gun metaphors and the way that she talks about them, especially this part where like a guy's cheating on her girlfriend and it's a silencer, a bunch of very weird kind of stuff. I think it's creative and funny enough that I like it, and there's something that's like actually erotic about it. I don't know. Maybe there's something about her presence where I sort of believe it. You know, there's so much. You know, like I was reading about there's a line that people thought was Nicki Minaj. Like she was on drugs, and Nicki's like, I don't do any of the drugs that I rap about. You know, that's what she said. And I think she's even said that she doesn't sleep around a lot. Like you don't have to do everything you say in your raps. I don't think that's important at all. But there is a different feeling when you believe it. Right? So, like, I would say 99 out of 100 rappers who I've ever heard talk about selling crack have ever sold crack. Okay? That's just my opinion. But I still love it and I don't care. Right? But, like, there's a different feeling when you believe that it's actually there. I believe the way that she presents her sexuality. So that does make it actually somewhat erotic. Next track is called Go Off. That's a one listen. It's a pop song. Why is this on here? I guess it's sort of an empowering thing with just about approval and all that. And then the next song is called Shoot Show. Another one listen. Another kind of pop song, singing to a trap verse. Like, I do like how she sings about being weird. You know, that's cool. There's a pretty strong verse at the end, but I just don't feel like I need to listen to this. And then the third track in a row, 3 skips in a row, Agora Hills. I do like the beginning where it has this kind of odd vaporwave sound, this kind of like, and even the title, Agora Hills, made me think it's going to be like a trip through an abandoned mall. And then it's just like this straight pop song with these phaser sounds, and it's like a different flow, which is cool because she's rapping totally normal. Okay, this is like when you listen to Kendrick and you're like, oh wait, I think this is his voice. Like he's not doing some kind of weird thing. This is actual it. I do like how she says that she does not fuck incels. Yeah, no one does. That's the whole point. if they did, they would no longer be cells. You know. And then we get to the song Can't Wait, which you might be thinking, I'm saying we need to keep skipping because it's a little bit more poppy, it's a little bit more sung. I want to add a little bit of nuance here. This album in general starts off super strong with rap and then gets more and more sort of R&B and poppy as it goes on. That's not my division though. Can't Wait kills. This song is awesome. I love this song. So it's not that I dislike any songs where she's singing or it's poppy. This has an incorporation of the Honey Drippers song Impeach the President, the famous drum beat, but not the straight version of it, the version that was chopped up and made cool by the Audio 2 in the song Top Billing. Just, you know, this is that old school hip hop stuff where you're not just hearing the Impeach the President beat that's been sampled 1,000 times, 2,000 times. Look it up, it's a lot. But this is that, and the whole thing just has a great sort of 90s R&B production. You know, when I was getting, I was really getting into hip hop in the late 90s. I'd listen to Jammin' 94.5 in Boston, which plays today's hottest hip hop and R&B. And I would only listen for the rap songs. I'd get mad at the R&B. Over time, I learned to appreciate what the good R&B was and what the bad R&B was, you know? So that's how I discovered Aaliyah was great, because her music was just great because it had Timbaland and it was written by Missy Elliott. So like that was great. I was listening to the radio waiting to hear the Rain by Missy Elliott, and then I would hear an Aaliyah song and not even realize I was listening to essentially the same artist, you know. But this has that kind of great, really well made 90s R&B style, kind of a vocal fry verse again, and then again, like it's about the believing. And this verse is like, reminds me of LL Cool J. So LL Cool J often has little love songs. And ladies really do love Cool James. And like he raps in a way that makes you feel special. And like this song, the way that she's rapping about taking care of her lover, like the way she's rapping about taking care of a man, like taking him to Paris. You know, this isn't like, it's one of the things that drives me the most crazy about a lot of sort of modern female rap artists is they're girl bosses who make all this money, but then they still rap about how they're taking money from men. It's like, who's Doja Cat going to sleep with who has more money than her? Nobody. And that's just not possible. So it's like a real like love song, but it's like a love song about how much she is going to take care of this guy. And for a second, you know, like you could just sort of be like, wow, she really does care about me. I mean, the person that she's talking about. You know, that weird kind of transference that happens. Next song is called Often. Nice low stuttered bass, odd sounds in the back, a very smoky R&B feel. I really love this song too. You Must Do This Often. It's funny because when I go to the gym, I watch Sex and the City quite often. It's a good show, and it's also good to better understand the women in my life who basically all really enjoy that show, and it's a point of reference to them. So like there's like a scene where she's like in Paris with like some dancer guy, and it's becoming clear to her that this like amazing lover and amazing person like just does this all the time. And what I love is that this song is like, hey, you sleep with a lot of women. You really have a lot of sex. And whatever feels super special about me, you've been doing that with 50 people in the last year. Anyways, let's keep doing it. You know, this sort of complete acceptance of this very experienced lover, which, you know, you don't often hear. It's often jealousy. It's often about like wanting to feel special. It is weird though. You must make your daddy so proud the way you bumping and grinding on me. What do you mean? What does that mean? How do you make your daddy proud? By bumping and grinding on a woman. Anyways, you must do this often, practice on me or perform. It's complex. That's a problematic line, or perform. Anyways, next track is called Love Life, more bass led. And this is that song about gratitude and appreciation. And if you thought I did not love Doja Cat, anti-vape, anti-alcohol, anti-conspicuous consumption for the purpose of showing off wealth, pro-sexuality, pro-artistic individuality. I love it when my fans speak French. Oh, you think I'm not bringing this into my class tomorrow? Oh, you think I'm not going to quote Doja Cat every single French class for as long as she's relevant? I love it when my fans speak French. Maybe the song Wet Vagina really is about West Virginia, which is discontinuing its language program. Do you know how hard it is to find anybody in pop culture who cares about linguistic diversity? So I love it when my fans speak French. Hey, in this house, all your fans speak French. A great kind of hiss of vinyl in the background, and it's great. She's feeling this love. She's feeling this happiness in her life for her fans and people who embrace her, but it's not anybody, it's people who embrace their flaws. They love when I embrace my flaws. I love it when they do the same. I love it when my fans love change. That's how we change the game. Going back to that central statement here, and what I pray is that her fans are with her. Okay, that they're not listening to Dave Coulier and thinking that she's a Satanist or whatever, that they just appreciate that she's trying to do some really cool stuff in the space of rap and pop and R&B and just music, just art. Like what genre is this? It's rap, but it's rap. If this is your first time watching my videos, I don't edit, which you probably noticed because I've been talking nonstop for 45 minutes. These are my mugs too. You can buy a mug if you want. Professor Skye mug. Pretty cool. All the cool kids have one. Skull and Bones is the next track, more kind of a 70s vibe, but then sort of modern bass comes in to make it feel less 70s. It makes sense. Listen to the song again and hear what I'm saying. Okay, 70s vibes and a very kind of modern 2020 sounding bass. Great musicianship on here though, like the vocal production, the layering of her voice. It gets sort of angelic. There's almost Isaac Hayes-like strings or Marvin Gaye-ish kind of what's going on style vibe. And then it's funny because it's all about this conspiracy theory. This is the thing where she's trolling you and saying, look at my demons, and I'm a demon, and I'm Doja Cat, and I love Satan. That's the whole thing. And then she's like, I've been pushing Satan this and Satan that. My fans yelling, Lee She Rich, you need that pact. Again, that's what trolls do. They troll and then they get upset that people react to the troll. But I do love the lyrics of the chorus. What's inside me but skull and bones? What's inside me but my soul? So it's great because the soul is the one thing, if you believe it exists, that no one can do anything to. No outside force can take away your soul or hurt you. So she's saying that she has her soul, that she hasn't sold it, and that's all she has. Then we get to Attention, which is amazing because this song is like so good and it's sort of like off, like the album sort of clicks back in its beginning phases with this song with this like harp and Chinese sounds. It's sort of like a getting psyched up song. It's like a weird whippoorwill in the back. Really hard drums, really good. Again, very bass driven and very sort of Kendrick-y delivery here, like playing with words, playing with time, playing with expectation. Look at me, look at me. You looking? That kind of like playful wait. My taste good, but I just had to redirect my cooking. I could have been an opener. I redirect the booking. I read all the comments. D, I'm really shooketh. D, you need a therapist. Is you looking? Kind of going on and on about just this overdetermined style, a little bit like in Demons as well. And she talks about the lack of empathy that celebrities get, about how we like to see them fall. And then she has this beautiful thing where she gives total credit to Nicki, that people are saying that she's trying to sound like Nicki, and she's like, no, but at the same time, of course they're going to compare me to the best. Like this is really what rap needs, especially female rap artists, because very often this book If you haven't read it, you should really read it, by Kathy Andoli, God Save the Queens. It really describes how very often in rap music there's permission to have one or maybe two female rap artists at any time, and they have to be in different lanes. And if they're in the same lane, then they have to fight. It has to be Foxy versus Kim at all times. And I love this because she is neither fighting Nicki nor straight up saying that she is Nicki's son. She's just saying, hey, Nicki's Nicki's the hottest, and I get that. It's great. Next song is called Balut. I read something about some kind of Vietnamese dish or food. I don't care. I didn't even pay attention to that. I like the whimsy of this song, sort of fantastical. Again, another non-trap beat. This is the slight vocal fry in her voice. At a certain point, there's a nice high West Coast vibe here. And she's really playing with language. I'm the shit. You are a real piece of shit. I am needed. You are a real needy bitch. I am competing. You are incompetent. She's playing around with pronunciation, sort of doing forced rhymes in a way similar to maybe even Lil Wayne. Then the album ends with WYM Freestyle, which I guess means what you mean. Trap drums, kind of like epic sounds that reset. She gets louder and louder as she goes through. This is maybe the most Nicki that she is on the entire album, but she's just great. Like, she's just attacking. I've been washing all you bitches, I be shitting, I be buying all these clothes, that's in the fittings, too much to really take it off, and I be spitting, you hear that as you forgetting. And then she just starts screaming, fuck this beat. And it's so funny. It's such a funny thing to say. It's great, because obviously she likes the beat, but she's just so unbelievably just passionate in the middle of this freestyle. She's just, And that's the thing. There's an unhinged quality to this album. It's a totally wild quality to this album, visceral, that is really powerful and really great. So I'm probably gonna go to the Record Archive in Rochester, New York, and buy this album. They don't sponsor me, but I support them anyways. It's a good record store. So these are my Patreons. They give me money so that I can buy music. So thanks to all of them. You can put your name on there too if you become my Patreon. Oh, she even has a song. She even has a lyric about patrons. Yeah, what does she say? I could stuff you, ho. I'm just so glad you a patron. So to all of you, I could stuff you, hoes. I'm just so glad you're a patron. I don't love you, hoes. I guess I don't love my patrons. I guess that's true. I don't love my Patreons because I don't know them. I don't really want to stuff them, though, whatever that means. But I do appreciate their support. So thanks to everyone there. Until next time, there's the camera.